My friend, I want you to pause everything around you for the next few minutes and listen with your heart. What if I told you that money was never meant to control you? It was designed to obey you. What if I told you there is a higher system, an invisible economy that operates beyond banks, jobs, and markets, a divine order that responds not to effort, but to faith? Most people spend their lives chasing wealth, yet still feel empty and uncertain. But there is another way, a way where heaven itself becomes your supplier, where resources flow not from luck or labor alone, but from spiritual alignment. This message is not about chasing money. It's about mastering the unseen laws that make money chase you. There are people in every generation who discovered this secret, who learned how to make faith speak louder than fear, obedience stronger than logic, and generosity more powerful than greed. They tapped into a financial rhythm that never runs dry, heaven's financial system. In the next few moments, you're going to hear something that may change how you see wealth forever. You will understand why faith is not just a feeling, but a divine currency that opens doors no human hand can shut. You will see how obedience creates opportunity, how giving multiplies what you have, and how your words can literally command abundance to find you. So don't just listen casually, open your spirit, let every word settle deep within you. Because when truth enters your heart, transformation begins to flow. What you're about to hear has the power to shift your mindset, reshape your financial future, and reconnect you with the source of all supply. Stay till the very end, not because I'm asking, but because somewhere inside, your soul is ready to remember what it already knows, that heaven's economy was never closed. You just needed the key of faith to unlock it. Now let's begin this journey, how to make money obey faith, heaven's financial system. Faith as a spiritual currency means that in the unseen realm of divine operation, belief functions as the medium of exchange. Just as paper money or digital currency governs earthly trade, faith governs the transactions of heaven. Nothing moves in the spiritual economy without faith. It is not emotion, wishful thinking, or optimism. It is the inner conviction that what God has promised already exists and will manifest when believed. When a person truly understands that faith is the highest form of wealth, they stop depending solely on the visible world for their supply. They realize that the invisible world holds everything they will ever need, waiting to be drawn into manifestation through belief. Money, opportunities, and resources respond to faith because faith aligns the human spirit with divine laws of abundance. Every miracle of provision begins with this spiritual exchange. Belief offered in place of currency, trust given in place of effort. Faith functions as spiritual purchasing power. When someone believes deeply enough, they make a spiritual withdrawal from heaven's treasury. This doesn't mean that faith manipulates God. It simply positions the believer to receive what already belongs to them. Faith is the permission slip that allows heaven to release its supply. The reason some people experience divine provision while others struggle is not because heaven plays favorites, but because faith opens the channel that fear keeps closed. In the natural realm, currency loses value when it is not in circulation. In the same way, faith grows weaker when it is not exercised. The more you use faith by believing, declaring, and acting, the more powerful it becomes. Each act of trust increases your spiritual credit, expanding your capacity to receive. Faith is also heaven's measure of authenticity. God does not respond to need, He responds to faith. Many people cry out for financial help, yet their hearts are filled with anxiety and unbelief, which cancels the vibration of trust. But when faith becomes genuine, it sends a signal into the spiritual realm that cannot be ignored. The law of faith demands a response. Everything created by divine intelligence was designed to obey the voice of belief. Mountains move, doors open, and resources flow toward those who hold unwavering confidence in the unseen. Money itself is a servant of faith. It moves where faith directs. This is why a person of deep faith can experience provision even in the midst of economic lack. Their belief reorders circumstances, bringing opportunities that others cannot see. Faith as spiritual currency also transforms how we view giving and receiving. When you give out of faith, you are making an investment into heaven's economy where the returns are multiplied beyond earthly logic. The physical act may seem small, but the spiritual transaction is massive. Faith ensures that nothing given in trust is ever lost. The invisible realm records every act of faith and releases compensation at divine timing. To operate in heaven's financial system is to understand that faith is the only currency that never inflates, never loses value, and never runs out. The source of supply is divine, not material, because everything that exists in the visible world originates from the invisible realm of spirit. Every coin, opportunity, and idea is a manifestation of an unseen energy directed by divine intelligence. The physical world is only a reflection of higher realities. And when people begin to understand this, they stop chasing the shadow and start connecting with the source. Money, jobs, clients, or investments are simply channels through which the divine supply flows, but they are not the supply itself. When a person mistakes the channel for the source, they limit what heaven can provide. True wealth consciousness begins when one recognizes that God, not circumstance, is the origin of all provision. Once this awareness becomes real, fear of lack dissolves, because one understands that even if a door closes, the source can open another effortlessly. Divine supply is limitless. It is not bound by market trends, national economies, or human systems. The same intelligence that feeds the birds of the air and clothes the lilies of the field governs the flow of provision for those who live by faith. When one aligns their thoughts with this higher truth, scarcity consciousness begins to lose power. Worry about money will come from is replaced by calm expectation that divine flow will meet every genuine need. Many people pray for financial breakthrough, but continue to think like beggars instead of stewards of an endless source. Faith requires a shift in identity from a person trying to survive within limited systems to a co-creator drawing from infinite abundance. Once this shift happens, resources begin to appear naturally because divine law responds to consciousness before it responds to effort. Understanding that the source is divine also changes how one works. Work becomes a channel for expression, not a struggle for survival. A person who knows that God is their supplier approaches work with peace, creativity, and excellence, because they know the outcome does not depend entirely on human effort. Ideas flow more freely, and solutions appear with ease because the mind is no longer burdened by fear. This spiritual mindset attracts opportunity. Divine supply often comes through intuition, a sudden thought, a meeting, or a new direction. And those tuned to it recognize such moments as part of heaven's orchestration. When you live with awareness of divine source, you begin to see miracles in ordinary events. This principle also invites humility and gratitude. Since all provision flows from a higher source, boasting about personal ability fades away. Every success becomes a testimony of divine partnership. The more gratitude one expresses, the more the flow increases, because gratitude keeps the heart open and receptive. The universe expands where appreciation resides. To make money obey faith, you must stop depending solely on the seen world and start trusting the unseen provider behind it. The physical is temporary, but the spiritual source is eternal and inexhaustible, always waiting to respond to faith-filled expectation. Obedience unlocks provision because divine abundance is often released in response to instruction. Faith without obedience is incomplete. It is like knowing the key exists but refusing to turn it. Many people pray for financial miracles, yet ignore the gentle nudges or specific directions that God gives them. In heaven's financial system, obedience is the code that authorizes release. When a person follows divine guidance, even when it seems illogical, they align themselves with the flow of provision. The act of obedience proves trust, and trust attracts supply. Every major miracle in Scripture and in life is connected to an act of obedience, a step taken before the evidence appeared. It may be a call to give, forgive, sow, serve, or move, but in every case, obedience positions the heart for divine increase. Obedience is not blind submission. It is an act of faith that says, I believe the source knows better than I do. When a person obeys a divine prompting, they demonstrate that their trust is not in human calculation, but in higher wisdom. Heaven responds to this surrender by opening new channels of supply. The divine economy works differently from the world's system. In the world, people accumulate by holding on tightly, but in heaven's economy, increase often begins with release. When one obeys the call to give or to act generously, they activate a spiritual law that multiplies what they let go of. The physical mind may resist this, thinking obedience will lead to loss, but the spiritual mind knows that obedience transforms scarcity into sufficiency. Sometimes the instruction connected to provision may appear small or insignificant. It could be to help someone, to start a project, or to change an attitude. Yet every act of obedience, no matter how simple, carries a spiritual chain reaction. Divine supply moves through obedience because it demonstrates readiness. Heaven will not pour abundance into a life that resists direction. Obedience builds capacity. It stretches faith and proves that the person is a trustworthy steward. When you respond quickly and faithfully to divine impulses, your spiritual sensitivity sharpens and the flow of provision becomes more consistent. Obedience also breaks cycles of delay. Many people wait for money or opportunity, not realizing that heaven is waiting for their obedience. The blessing is often already prepared, but the act of obedience is the bridge between prayer and manifestation. The moment you step into obedience, the atmosphere shifts, resources begin to move, ideas come alive, and favor starts to surround you. Divine provision follows divine alignment. When your actions, intentions, and faith move together in harmony with divine, financial flow becomes natural, not forced. True prosperity is not luck or coincidence. It is the predictable result of faith expressed through obedience. Every act of obedience, whether large or small, becomes a seed that heaven recognizes and multiplies, ensuring that provision reaches you in the perfect way and perfect time. Money obeys the law of seed time and harvest because the entire spiritual and natural universe is governed by the principle of sowing and reaping. Nothing multiplies until it is first released, and no harvest appears without a seed. This law applies not only to crops or nature, but also to finances, relationships, and opportunities. Every seed represents faith in action, a visible expression of an invisible belief. When a person gives, invests, or helps another in faith, they are planting something in the spiritual soil that must eventually return multiplied. The timing may differ, but the outcome is certain because divine law cannot be broken. Heaven's economy functions through this rhythm of giving and receiving, sowing and reaping, releasing and receiving back in greater measure. When money is seen only as a means of survival, fear controls it. But when it is seen as a seed, it becomes a tool of creation. A seed may look small and insignificant, but within it is a hidden power to produce far more than itself. The farmer who holds on to his seed out of fear of loss will never experience harvest. Yet the one who releases it into the ground activates an unseen process that multiplies. The same is true with finances. When money is sown in faith, whether through generosity, helping others, supporting good work, or following divine instruction, it begins to grow beyond physical calculation. What leaves your hand in obedience never leaves your life. It simply changes form and prepares to return as a multiplied blessing. The law of seed time and harvest also trains the heart to detach from greed and fear. It teaches trust in divine cycles. When you give, you are acknowledging that your source is not the money itself, but the divine supply behind it. This awareness creates peace. You stop clinging to possessions and start partnering with spiritual law. Every act of sowing becomes an act of worship, a declaration that you believe in the abundance of the source. Heaven watches such faith closely because it mirrors divine nature, which is always giving, always multiplying. The generous soul becomes a channel through which abundance continually flows. The moment you give with joy and expectation, you align with the creative rhythm of the universe, and that rhythm ensures that something new must return to you. Harvest, however, requires patience. A seed planted today does not bear fruit tomorrow, but it is growing beneath the surface. Many people give up too soon, digging up their seed with doubt or negative words. But the person who trusts the process and waters it with gratitude and continues to sow in every season will eventually live in overflow. The law of seed time and harvest never fails. Money responds to it because money is energy, and energy follows divine order. When you understand that your giving creates your growing, you stop fearing lack. You become a participant in heaven's economy, where every seed of faith produces a harvest that sustains not only you, but those around you. Faith speaks to finances because words are not just sounds. They are containers of spiritual power that shape reality. Everything in creation responds to spoken faith because words carry creative energy that originates from divine authority. When a person speaks with conviction rooted in belief, they release vibrations that influence both the seen and unseen realms. Money, opportunities, and circumstances respond to those vibrations. Finances are not merely physical numbers or paper. They are energy that obeys spiritual command. The way a person talks about their financial life determines the atmosphere surrounding it. Words of fear and lack invite restriction, but words of faith invite expansion. Speaking with faith is not about pretending things are fine. It is about declaring divine truth until the physical world aligns with it. Many people unknowingly curse their finances by constantly speaking words of limitation. They say, "I never have enough, I can't afford it," or "money doesn't stay with me." Each of those statements plants a seed that reinforces scarcity. And the spiritual realm takes those words as instructions. But when a person chooses to speak words of abundance, gratitude, and expectancy, they send out new instructions that call forth opportunity. Faith-filled speech changes the energy around you. It builds confidence, attracts favor, and directs your thoughts towards solutions instead of problems. The moment your language changes, your experience begins to shift because you are aligning your vibration with divine provision. Speaking faith to finances also reprograms the subconscious mind. The mind believes whatever it hears repeatedly, and when it hears strong affirmations of faith, it begins to expect abundance as normal. That expectation is the breeding ground for manifestation. The tongue becomes a steering wheel that guides your life toward increase or decrease. Every declaration is a seed sown into the soil of the Spirit. When those seeds are watered with gratitude and consistency, they produce tangible results. Faith-filled words create pathways for divine supply to reach you. They may open new ideas, inspire creativity, or attract helpful people who play a role in your financial growth. Faith speaking to finances must be consistent. It cannot waver between belief and doubt. A double-minded confession produces confusion in the atmosphere. Just as a farmer doesn't plant and uproot his seed every day, a person of faith must hold steady to their declarations until results appear. Speaking faith is not magic. It is partnership with divine law. It is aligning your mouth with heaven's promises. When your heart and words agree, creative power is released. Over time, money begins to obey your conviction. It flows toward confidence and flees from fear. Faith does not beg, it commands with humility and trust. When you speak to your finances as though they can hear you, you activate spiritual authority over them. The word begins to respond in your favor because heaven always honors the sound of faith. Partnership with the kingdom economy means aligning your resources, actions, and intentions with divine purpose so that your financial life becomes part of something greater than personal gain. In heaven's system, true prosperity is never isolated. It flows through connection, service, and stewardship. When a person understands that their wealth, talents, and opportunities are entrusted to them for a purpose, they stop seeing money as ownership and start viewing it as partnership. The kingdom economy operates through circulation, not accumulation. The more one uses what they have to advance good, to help others, and to build what reflects divine values, the more heaven increases their supply. This is not charity driven by guilt, it is stewardship driven by vision. The divine source multiplies what is used for divine intent because it recognizes that those resources are being reinvested in the flow of creation. In the kingdom economy, you are not a consumer but a co-creator. Every time you contribute to something that uplifts lives, spreads truth, or brings hope, you participate in a divine cycle of expansion. Heaven trusts givers because giving is the language of love and faith. When you support what carries eternal value, you connect yourself to an endless supply. Partnership means asking a simple question before every financial decision. Does this serve the higher purpose? When the answer is yes, divine favor accompanies the action. Money earned or spent under divine guidance carries a different vibration. It brings peace instead of pressure, joy instead of anxiety, and multiplication instead of depletion. Partnership also transforms the way you approach success. Instead of chasing wealth for validation, you begin to see it as a tool for expression and service. Every skill, business, or career becomes a channel of contribution. Heaven's financial system rewards those who manage resources with wisdom and integrity because such people mirror the nature of the source itself. The divine flow cannot move freely through selfishness, but it rushes toward those who carry hearts of generosity and vision. When you choose to partner with divine purpose, opportunities that once seemed out of reach begin to appear. The right people cross your path, doors open in perfect timing, and creative ideas flourish because you are now in rhythm with heaven's circulation. This partnership is not transactional but relational. It requires continual communication with the source, listening for direction, following inner promptings, and maintaining a spirit of gratitude. As long as you remain aligned, your financial life becomes an instrument of blessing. What you release multiplies, and what you keep in fear stagnates. The more you give, the more heaven entrusts to you, because it recognizes a faithful steward. This is how money begins to obey faith. It flows to the hands that understand partnership. When your motives are pure and your actions consistent with divine law, the kingdom economy takes over, and your life becomes a living example that prosperity without purpose is temporary, but prosperity rooted in partnership is eternal. Beloved, as we bring this message to a close, remember this truth. Money was never meant to rule you. It was created to serve you through faith. Heaven's financial system is not built on fear, competition, or striving, but on divine partnership, obedience, and spiritual trust. The world teaches that wealth comes through control and calculation, but heaven teaches that it flows through surrender and belief. Faith is the master key that unlocks the invisible vault of abundance. Every law we have discussed, faith as currency, divine supply, obedience, sowing and reaping, speaking life, and partnership with purpose, are not theories. They are living principles that transform ordinary lives into channels of extraordinary provision. If you will dare to believe that your source is greater than your salary, your bank account, or your circumstances, you will begin to see provision appear in ways that defy logic. When your words, heart, and actions align with divine truth, money will no longer be your master. It will become your servant, obedient to the faith that flows through you. Let your life be the evidence that heaven's economy is real. You are not a beggar in the system of the world. You are a steward of the kingdom of abundance. What you release in faith will always return multiplied. So go forward with peace, confidence, and expectation. Don't fear the future created with your belief. Don't chase money. Attract it through purpose and obedience. Don't doubt the process. Speak life into it. The same divine power that created the universe dwells within you, guiding, supplying, and multiplying everything you put your hand to. May your faith grow stronger, your obedience become quicker, and your vision clear each day. May the heavens open above your life, and may every act of giving, serving, and trusting bring you closer to divine overflow. Thank you for sharing this sacred moment of reflection and awakening. Your presence, your attention, and your desire to understand heaven's financial system show that your heart is ready for increase. Keep walking by faith, keep sowing in love, and keep speaking abundance. Good luck on your journey. May every seed you plant in faith rise into a harvest beyond imagination. And remember, your miracle is not on the way, it's already waiting for your belief to call it forth. Thank you, and may grace, favor, and abundance follow you wherever you go.